Now that you understand the basics of using while statements to create repetition in your programming, let's look at a different type of repetition statements called for statements. For statements are similar to while statements, but they allow you to specify the elements of counter-controlled repetition in a single line of code. So where our while statements required a condition inside of the parentheses that was going to evaluate to true, we had the block of code that we executed, and then we had to maintain a counter. For statements allow us to take a more compact, lightweight stance to creating repetition in our programs. So to look at the logic of this, when we wrote while statements, we had some kind of initialization. We had our while and our loop continuation condition. Then inside the block, we had our statements, everything that we wanted to have happen if this loop was true, and then we incremented so that we were maintaining the counter that was ultimately controlling the condition. For statements allow us to do this all in one step. So we have for our initialization, a semicolon, our loop continuation condition, a semicolon, and our increment step, all in one statement. So then all we have in the block for the for loop, the statements we want to execute in the block if our condition that we've specified up here in the for statement is true. So let's look at an example of for repetition in our C# code. Here I've written a while loop that is similar to one that you saw in a previous video. So we have our counter that we're initializing to 1, our while loop with the continuation condition of count less than equal 10. We're writing out the value of count, and then we're having to handle the incrementation step at the end of the loop so that at some point our continuation condition will become false and the loop will terminate. As you can see down here in the for loop, we do all of the same things, but we do it in one step on one line. So we have a counter variable that we're initializing to 1. We have our continuation condition, and we have our incrementation. Again, we're just writing out the value of that variable. So when you run this, you should get the exact same output twice, which we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? But if we set the breakpoint in the for loop, we can actually debug this and walk through and see exactly what's happening as the compiler evaluates these statements. So I'll run my program, and we can see that the first place the compiler goes is the initialization step. And as we step through, we can see that that variable is declared and it's initialized to 1. Then it evaluates the loop condition statement. Since it's true, we hop down into the block and perform any statements in the block. And then it hops up to the last step of the for loop, which is the incrementation step. We then evaluate and continue through the loop until that condition becomes false, at which time the for loop will terminate. So you can see that there really isn't a difference in the outcome writing a while loop and a for loop, but we can write our code in a different way and express that repetition while using two different forms of control. So as you're writing your C# applications, begin to think about if you're wanting to use a while loop or a for loop and what some of the benefits of each one would be.